So let's get started with part two. And here is my review for Birds of Prey that came out this weekend, which I believe is the eighth DCEU movie. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that number, but if you count Joker, I think this would be the ninth DC movie since 2013. So, like every DC movie, I was pretty excited to watch this movie only because I'm a huge DC fan, and my excitement really didn't come from like genuinely feeling like watching this movie. I was just confused and kind of skeptical about even what this movie would even be. Uh, I mean, overall, DCU has been doing great. DC in general has been doing great. Like after the disasters, that was Justice League. We got Aquaman, that was pretty good. We got Shazam, that I really liked. Joker winning all the Oscars. So DC is like building all this momentum. Uh, and this movie, I feel like, doesn't really add to that momentum, but it doesn't take away anything from that momentum either. I was kind of meh on this movie. Like, I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. Maybe I was leaning to the hate part a bit, but I didn't go in that direction. Um, so, first, the positives. There were some subtle references to Suicide Squad and just the greater DCEU. Just some, not too much. And I appreciated some of the references. I know, DC doesn't really like to reference other movies, and I like that. Like they don't go over the top with the references. They just kind of keep it in the background, see if people notice. But usually the story they're trying to tell is the main focus. The action scenes were definitely really good in this movie. Like I definitely enjoyed the combat in this movie a lot. Whenever there was fighting in this movie, that's when I think the movie was at its best. Um, there were obvious third act reshoots with the way the choreography went for the fight scenes. Just the third act overall was very disconnected from the first two acts, but you can definitely see like the third act action scene. There's this particular chase scene, and when you see it, you'll be like, "Yeah, that's a very John Wick esque chase scene," and it makes sense because Chad Stahelski, the director of John Wick, had to come in to do the reshoots for the action scenes, and you can definitely see his influence on this movie. I saw, I think, a tweet. It was like a very ridiculous tweet. To be honest, there was a lot of ridiculous takes when it came to this movie. Because, personally, I kind of feel meh on this movie. But one take I saw on this movie was like, this movie is a mix of uh, John Wick and Deadpool. I was like, there, that's some load of crap. That is bullshit. That's not true at all. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a paid critic or something because I did not feel that way. Uh, but there was some Deadpoolness in this movie, like Harley Quinn. For the most part of this movie, like she was the one narrating a lot of the scenes. She was breaking the fourth wall a few times. I gotta be honest with y'all, it didn't really work with me. Uh, I don't know why, but I just didn't like it. Uh, I guess because in general, I've never been a fan of Harley Quinn in the comics or the TV shows. I guess when she's without Joker, uh, and this movie didn't change that opinion. Uh, but like even though I'm criticizing that, I did think Margot Robbie is like the perfect Harley Quinn. She played that role so well. I think she did a really good job in the movie. And the thing is, even though this movie's called Birds of Prey, she was the main focus of this movie. And she didn't really feel like part of that, I guess, Birds of Prey. Like, she was kind of like her own character. And Birds of Prey were kind of like just the side thing she just so happened to encounter. if this movie was called Harley Quinn the movie, nobody would bat an eye, honestly, and probably should have been called that because she's definitely the main focus and gets about, I would say, 80% of the screen time. I would say like maybe, yeah, 70 to 80% of the screen time. Uh, Ewan McGregor's Black Mask. This is the aspect of the movie I was really excited about. Seeing Ewan McGregor, who is, I would say, one of my favorite actors working today in DC as Black Mask, one of the creepiest, most prominent villains of Gotham and Batman's lore. I was excited to see his debut in DC, and I was like, this is gonna be great seeing Ewan McGregor play a DC character, and he honestly did not disappoint. He was great in this movie. You'll definitely see there were moments in the movie where it got a bit cartoonish with his character and over the top, but I think Ewan McGregor just played it so well. Like there were so many scenes, like I, there's a lot of spoilers involving with this character. I'm definitely gonna dive into the things he did in this movie in the spoiler talk, but I'm gonna say overall, I was really happy with Ewan McGregor's performance as Black Mask, and he looked amazing with the black mask on his face, and the suit combinations he had in this movie, I thought they were great. Like he looked great. His acting was great. He was overall a big positive uh, for me in this movie. And a lot of people are probably saying like he was just like a generic villain who did misogynistic things or whatever. But I gotta be honest, I didn't feel that way. Like I feel like there was things they could have explored with his villain. And I'm definitely gonna talk more about him in the spoiler talk. If I talk more, then I feel like I'm getting in spoiler territory. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. We're gonna discuss it more next week. All right. Actually, before I get into that, another positive I had, I thought Black Canary was played very well by Journey Smollett Bell. I think she did a really good job, and she really captured that character really well. I mean, she does have the advantage of, her being the first Black Canary in the movie universe, so she doesn't really have anybody to compete against. So that worked in her favor, and she did a really good job. Uh, and Huntress was, I feel like Mary, I forgot her name, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She did a good job too. But the thing is, her character only had like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of screen time. She wasn't in the movie very much, and her character was kind of interesting. I was actually kind of into her origins that they quickly glanced over, and I was like, you know what, I would like a few more minutes of that. But unfortunately, I feel like a chunk of that screen time went to Cassandra Cain, who I know is very different in the comics, but I could not stand that character in this movie. I was so just I was so mad at her character. Like her character was just super annoying, and the actress who played her was just horrible. Like I couldn't stand her. And here's the thing, like people don't really like to criticize child actors, but I could not stand that character. Whenever that character was on screen, the movie, like if there was some momentum in the movie, like it's moving well, her character would appear, the momentum would be killed. Like she would just kill the momentum of this movie. And I feel like she was definitely the worst part of this movie. Uh, oh yeah, I don't have this in my notes, but I gotta mention the screenwriting real quick. Like I was telling Izzy uh, off the air, uh, if you're a screenwriter or observes plot and how a movie progresses very closely, you're probably gonna be infuriated with this movie because Harley Quinn is the narrator of this movie, and the way she remembers events, it's super confusing. Not trying to get into spoiler territory, we get like we probably come to the end of the first act maybe, and she has to go back in time 15, so we go back in time to explain how we got to that point, and that adds another 15 minutes to the movie. And by the time you come back to the original point, you're like, wait, where were we again? There's just a lot of jumping around. And another thing they do is like if there's a like so a lot of people are after Harley Quinn because Joker and her broke up, like it said in the trailer. So a lot of people are after her. So let's say she encounters somebody that she has a grievance with, it literally will pause. Like, you guys remember in Suicide Squad when like a character would appear and like a text would appear, with their name and all the fancy art. It's like
This person's bio.
exactly the same thing would happen with their name, and then it would show like grievances with Harley. So as to explain why they hate Harley Quinn. I thought that was kind of a lazy way of writing it. But yeah, overall though, like after the movie ended, I wasn't sure about the ending. I had a very unsure feeling. Like I felt like they were going for a very uh, interesting ending, but I felt like they just dropped the ball and just kind of got a generic middle of the road movie. Like I felt like they could have done something different and to make it memorable, but it was just kind of meh, to be honest. Like I want to discuss the ending in the spoiler talk because I was infuriated with this one thing that happened. And Ziggler, if you see this thing at the end of the movie, you'll probably understand why I was infuriated. Uh, but yeah, I would definitely need the spoiler talk to explain my problems with the movie even more. Uh, so yeah, but overall, I would say this is definitely not a Suicide Squad bad movie, but it's not top tier DC movie either.
Is it like Captain Marvel?
It's maybe a little better than Captain Marvel only because it had a very distinct taste. Like, there was a very distinct way this movie was directed. And the action scenes were definitely way better than Captain Marvel. Um, I would say this is probably because I think if there's 8 DCU movies, I would rank this like somewhere like number 7 or 6, honestly. Like I would not go any higher than that. But yeah, um, can't wait for the spoiler talk next week. But my overall rating for the movie is gonna be a 6 out of 10. Uh, kind of a meh movie. Some good parts, but overall, just a whatever movie. Nothing special. And this movie
So
will
like so we're all like the action scenes great though.
yeah, Chad Stahelski definitely had hand in dirt. Oh, action scenes. Okay, I gotta mention the scene from the trailer where Harley breaks into the prison. That scene is I would say that scene is the best action scene in the movie. Like that scene is crazy, and you can see like Chad Stahelski written all over that screen. That's a reshot scene completely. But yeah, I think Chad Stahelski had to come in and make the action better because the action scenes in this movie are great, to be honest. And he definitely had a hand in directing. But when the action stopped and it got down to just the nitty gritty, whatever, it was just a lot of one-liners, Deadpool kind of jokes. That didn't really work for me, to be honest. So yeah, there's that. Just a meh DC movie. I mean, I shouldn't have expected anything great from this movie, but it's kind of sad to see DC's winning streak is kind of over now. Like, hopefully Wonder Woman is way better, which it probably will be, and DC will be back on track. And we get the Snyder cut. Please, I need the Snyder cut.
I mean, sometimes Marvel Studios have meh movies too, like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel.
True.
So, you know,
So, so yeah, I guess this is DC's Captain Marvel in a way,
yeah.
basically.
And we'll see if Wonder Woman is like their Ragnarok or some shit.
True. Honestly, though, like if Black Mask wasn't in this movie, I would have rated this movie like 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Ewan's portrayal of Black
Oh,
Mask.
dude, he's so freaking good. And you know what? Shout out to Victor Zsasz too. I felt like he was played pretty well by Chris Messina. Yeah, but yeah, I want to discuss. You'll understand why I want to discuss the characters in the
All
spoiler
right.
talk. All
And
right.
will the ending, do you think I'll hate the ending?
I'm not gonna say anything.
All right. I swear to God, if Black Mask dies.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. I don't want to discuss the movie anymore because I feel like I'm gonna get in spoiler territory. But yeah, next week, me and Zig and anybody else who watches, we're gonna do spoiler talk. All right, so let's move on to an MCU topic that blew up this week. Sam freaking Raimi is in talks to direct Doctor Strange 2 Into the Multiverse of Madness. What? Like when this news came out from Variety that he was in talks. And usually, quote unquote in talks pretty much means that they've agreed on a lot of things and the deal is pretty much close to being, sealed. The only time that the in talks didn't come to fruition was back when Jonah Hill was being casted as a Batman villain, probably Penguin. That's the only time, like in the recent memory, that the casting didn't end up happening. But Sam Raimi in talks to direct. That's a pretty big. It's 90% sure that he's the one that's going to end up directing Doctor Strange 2. And honestly, like, well, it's funny because when Scott Derrickson was fired, one of the suggestions me, Cam, and Ziggler had was Sam Raimi. We all thought about Sam Raimi. It was like, oh, it would be cool if Sam Raimi would come back to superhero movies and direct this movie because he's obviously got a big background in horror, and we know this movie is trying to go for some horror elements. And we thought, wait a minute, he's also directed freaking one of the best trilogies in superhero history, the Spider-Man trilogy.
Or in
So
this case, or for some sequels, the first two movies.
right, exactly. So he's got experience working with big studios on big budget blockbusters. So honestly, I was like, this is a perfect match, and we're gonna be seeing alternate versions of MCU characters we've been seeing. And the thought of potentially seeing maybe Tobey Maguire come back as an alternate version of Tom Holland Spider-Man, it's a pretty enticing thought if you think about it. And I mean, Sam Raimi would be perfect if he ended up being cast, ended up being the director of this movie. But yeah, overall, just pretty big news for the original Spider-Man trilogy fans and just MCU fans. The filming literally begins like next month or in like May, I think they're gonna begin actual filming. So yeah, this is pretty big news. And Izzy, were you able to hear about this news?
No.
Is this the first time you're hearing?
What the fuck was that? No.
No.
No, it's just
No,
how he
it's-
said it. He was like,
no.
he was like, no.
I think I caught him off guard.
No.
I got him reading.
No.
Wait,
Anyways,
no.
yo, this is the first time I've ever heard of it.
Oh, okay.
So,
And your reaction?
so swag. My reaction. I don't really have a reaction, honestly. I'll just like let you guys talk about it. I really don't really have time about it. But
Ziggler, you pick.
I'll look forward to it. I'll look forward to it like during the week. But
Ziggler, you pick up the slack. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I love Sam Raimi, dude. He directed two of my favorite horror movies, Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. And of course,
Evil Dead is your favorite
what?
horror movie?
I said two of my favorite horror movies, Evil
Okay.
Dead and Evil Dead
Oh,
2.
slander
Evil Dead. Evil Dead
Okay,
are
what?
great.
That's okay.
Evil
Shut up, Cam.
Dead is Evil Dead is one of the
Evil
best
Dead is
goddamn
fucking
horror movies of all
amazing.
time. He did so
Anyways, continue.
many with such a little budget. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, he's a fantastic director. Of course, directed Spider-Man 1 and 2, and that's it. He only directed two Spider-Mans. So yeah, hey, if he's gonna do it, let's fucking do it. It's gonna be great to see him back directing Marvel movies. So hyped as hell for that. And if we get a freaking Tobey Maguire cameo in this multiverse, holy shit, that'll be crazy as hell.
True. And I mean, Spider-Man 3 was such a Sony Studios.
Spider-Man 3 didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
What's a
okay.
Spider-Man 3?
Well, this disaster
There has
movie
never
was.
been a Spider-Man 3. I mean, the new Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland's coming out soon, but no.
Okay. So this.
There's never ever been a
I
Spider-Man
heard
3.
about this Spider-Man 3, and it was apparently a studio screw job, and they've apparently they're rumored to be forcing Sam Raimi into introducing Venom into the movie, even though he doesn't want that character in the movie. So hopefully, Kevin Feige understands that Sam Raimi is a competent enough director to do his own thing and doesn't interfere with his work like Sony allegedly did. So yeah, but Sam Raimi does have a very unique style of directing. Like if you just look at the first two Spider-Man movies, which are the only two Spider-Man movies directed by Sam Raimi, like look at the scene, the raindrops keep falling on my head scene. Like no other director would put a scene like that in their serious superhero movie, and it completely works for him because he's just got a very unique style of directing. So I'm excited to see what he does with MCU characters. It's pretty exciting, and hopefully it's confirmed pretty soon. And Cam, your thoughts?
He directed two or even three, if you count Army of Darkness, of the greatest horror movies of all time, and the best sequel movies, the best two superhero movies of all time. Of course, I'm excited that Sam Raimi is directing superhero movies again. But the possibilities are absolutely endless with what he's gonna do with it. We could get Tobey Maguire. We could get Venom. We could get Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin again. Either way, I'm excited for it. Let's just hope that he gets to do what he wants with it, and the studios don't have to mess with it. Oh, and there is a Spider-Man 3. It's just called Spider-Man 2.1.
I swear to God, though, if Kirsten Dunst returns as MJ, I'm gonna shoot the goddamn screen.
Nah, I don't think she's gonna return.
Yeah, but like for like a little cameo with with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sam Raimi ends up directing this, then the chances of Tobey Maguire being in this movie for like a little cameo are pretty high.
True. Also, they're rumored to be doing a live-action Spider-Verse movie. So maybe things move in the right direction with this.
Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video and make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And click on the channel to check out some more awesome videos like our movie and wrestling debates and our interviews with people like the Wrestling Classic and Jordan Jomo from the IGWC. And we are definitely looking into delivering you all some more content in the near future, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And thank you for your support.